Today, my guest is Suzanne Jabour. Suzanne Jabour is a grieving mom who has found meaning in her loss through helping grievers and those who are supporting them. She now helps other grievers chart their unique grief path. She also works to help people, organizations, and businesses build the skills and protocols to better support people who are grieving and normalize grief as an expected and healthy part of our lives. She is a transformational coach and workshop leader and a certified grief educator. Let us meet Suzanne Jabour. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Gaby U show. Today, I have an amazing guest, Suzanne Jabour. And so let's welcome Suzanne. Suzanne, welcome to the Gaby U show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Suzanne. So, Suzanne, let's get this thing started. My icebreaker question is one in town. Nobody asked this question except me, Gaby, in the Gaby U show. So my first thing I want to ask you today, what is your favorite food?
So this is a really hard question for me, Gaby, because I have too many. So I decided I decided my arching favorite food that I could like really lean into and claim is pasta.
Okay, pasta. Any type of pasta? Warm?
Well, I'm plant-based, so
okay.
all kinds of weird pasta you probably don't eat, or versions of pastas you eat that get adapted for those of us that are plant-based. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm a bit of a carbaholic, so
okay.
that saucy, carby, warm deliciousness,
Yes.
so good.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And now they have so many options because if you know some little thing about me that I love food, that's why I ask all my guest foods. I love exploring. Kitchen is my happy place. So I have figured that, I can eat the pasta and in other options, like there's so many made from lentils, made from chickpeas, so many made from cassava if you don't want to, go gluten-free, because I'm more like a gluten-free person. So I have seen that there are options there you can still enjoy and not feel like you're deprived, so to speak. But
that's right.
So there's so I believe for you probably like all those versions.
Yeah, some more than others.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need that gluten because I'm a really mouth-feely person. Like it matters what it feels like in my mouth. And some of the gluten-free, like the rice-based ones, get too mushy. And so I'm a very picky person when it comes to that. Like I want it just so. But yeah, there's tons of options and lots of ways to make them gluten-free or plant-based or whatever you're doing.
I'm surprised you say you are picky because the way you started, like, I don't know if I know which food I want to pick, because usually I found out that people that are not picky, they don't know which is their favorite food. So that's why I was thinking.
Yeah, all pasta is good.
Okay.
And some is better than others.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Yes. They are not all equal.
Nope.
Okay, true. That's great. So the next thing I want to ask you, Suzanne, what is your favorite quote? I know you probably have a bunch of them, but I want you just
I do. I have two. I managed to get it down to two.
It's good. We can do that.
I figured they're short, so I figured I'd be all right. I'm going to sneak them in. And I chose them because they were so critical in my journey that we're going to talk about. And so one is from my brilliant mentor, Dr. Claire Zammit. And she teaches us all the time and reminds us all the time that we cannot become ourselves by ourselves, which is so brilliant to me because we're so, our culture expects us to have this like independence and we're supposed to do it all. And, the reality is, of course, we're wired to be interconnected. So it's that brilliant reminder for those of us that are recovering independent folk and perfectionists that really like, we're not supposed to do it all by ourselves. We are supposed to depend on others. We're supposed to reach out for support. And the other is from the brilliant Glennon Doyle, who, crafted, I'm sure, a mantra for many of us, which is we can do hard things. Because life, of course, has a tendency to throw hard things at us. And we just, that became really a mantra for us, my daughter and I, especially in the early days of our grief journey. And just that sense of like, we can do hard things. We can do this, like one step at a time, one choice at a time. We can do hard things. So that's my two.
I love that. Yes, that's one. I mean, both of them, they are just amazing because I can really relate to them too. I know many of us listening are like, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, write it down. I always say this in all my episodes, be writing stuff down, or
that's right. Get your pen out. It's going to be juicy.
Put it on your notes on your phone. I'm electronic, so I don't like writing. I like typing. So
yeah, me too.
So yes, that's really good because again, like with your first quotes, it's one of those things that we are not meant to be, this way I look at it, that we're not meant to be in this world alone.
No.
We need some of the energy from other people, and we need to give out that too as well. So
exactly,
we are not meant to be secluded and be by ourselves. Community, connections, relationships, that's the way the human
that's how we're wired. It's very recent in our collective history that we're trying to do everything on our own. It doesn't work.
No, you can't. It's get to a level, so level you will do stuff alone, and then you'll be like, okay, I can't,
I'm topped out, can't do it.
Exactly. We need each other. That's good. So I want us to go into, for you to share with us what you believe has shaped you to be this woman you are today. Is it from your journey of motherhood, childhood, career, or whatever? Like, the table is yours. We got enough time. Share as much as you can.
It's such a big question, and it's so interesting to contemplate and really kind of break down where those pivotal moments are and what those pivotal things are. And I think, for sure, for me, my childhood, my parents had a huge influence, as I think they do for all of us. So much of our wiring is laid down in our really early childhood experiences and then reinforced as we go. And I think really too, one of the things that has shaped me really has been the losses. And that's, I think moments where we so much want to turn away from them. And if we can turn into them, there's so much learning and growth and discovery about ourselves and, life and others. And so for me, my first really significant loss was my dad. He died when I was in my early 30s. I had a 4-year-old and a baby, so much earlier than I would have liked, to have my dad gone and have them lose their grandpa. And then my mom died when I was in my 40s. So, not early, compared to lots of people, but much earlier than I would have liked, right? We all have this kind of, story about how our lives are going to go and our parents are going to live for a long, long time. And that wasn't the case for me. So, and that really was the start for me of this journey of, when my dad died and I had 2 tiny kids, I couldn't do it all myself. Like, I had to give up that sense that I could do everything and be everything to all people. It was impossible. So I really needed to reach out to others for help. And, luckily I had a support system around me that all leaped into help. And that was how I survived that. And, when my mom died, it was a little bit different. My kids were older, obviously, and they didn't need the same kind of, diaper changing kind of level of support, but, we all needed support. And then, that all kind of, I think in many ways set me up with some skills that weren't sufficient, but were better than nothing when my son died, because of course there's something about that out of order loss that just makes grief to, the next level that I hadn't experienced before. I couldn't even really imagine. And I'm weirdly grateful that I had those other close losses, so that I knew that that I could survive it as a bare minimum, right? And that if I could stay aware and stay somehow present to what was happening, and just turn towards it, that there was real richness there, and as deep as the pain was, the opportunity to make choices and to be really clear. And I think this knowing came out of my previous losses as well, just that clarity and knowing that there was a life to be lived and it was mine. And so I needed to make choices every moment, baby steps at a time, because, there's no leaping in grief. It's a long, slow journey, but just that I could make those choices. I could put myself back together. I could rebuild a life, and I could make it be worth something and mean something. So that's kind of what's led me here, where I come on podcasts and I speak to groups and I work with businesses all about grief.
Wow. Yeah, that is kind of interesting road, because I mean, all the losses you have, those are really very close home to the heart. And that I was, and then losing a child, that is one thing, I feel that was so the biggest for you. I will feel, I mean, of course, you are close to your parents, but the losing of a child is something really big, because we all want, that we go before our kids, not
that's how it's supposed to go, right? That's the story that
the older people go
that we
first.
imagine our life.
Yes, the older people go first before, and it's, even though those things that happen, losing your parents at those age, it's kind of help you through with losing your son. It was preparing that path, which would have been so much difficult, and it wasn't, none of those things were happy things. But again, it's just, this is the way life is, that how we take stuff, that the things that sometimes happen, because we cannot know what's gonna come, and taking all those things and using them to make ourselves endure and get better, and not to be weighed down, which is what I see that pattern going. All this were just happening, and sometimes we don't see that. When it happens, you don't see, like, why is this happening to me? Like, God, why all this? But when all the stuff start unfolding, you say, well, there was a reason this happened. It was preparing you. And it's not, the preparation in life is not always good. And I
think exactly, right? We learn the most from our challenges, right? That's where we're the most challenged to grow and learn, and none of us want to change, right? So it doesn't happen when everything's going great, right? But we just want to ride that wave. And I think it's so interesting what you're saying about, I really don't subscribe to that kind of idea that things happen for a reason. I think that's really tricky for people who've had losses that in many ways don't, there's no reason to them. They don't make reasonable sense.
That particular time when it happens, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. But I do think that, when things happen, we have a choice.
Yeah.
And we have, we're constantly making choices. Every moment of every day, we're making little tiny choices that all add up. And I think it's leaning into those choices and, leaning into that sense that, this is it. This is my life, and this at this moment. And so what now? What do I do now? How do I make sense of this? How do I just survive the day? In those very early days, it's really about survival. Like, how do I just breathe, right? At the very beginning, it's that you're that much in survival mode, and you're physiologically, your body and your physical is all a mess, and psychologically, emotionally, you're a mess, and your brain is, like, everything is just a big mess. And so how do you make choices to just keep taking baby steps forward, being gentle with yourself? It's so much self-compassion, and giving yourself grace for whatever you can manage, and being okay with what you can't. Like, it's really, really hard. And I think you're so smart to see that heaviness that so many of us are carrying. And that heaviness comes from not looking at it, right? People, I think, when they are dealing with grief, often I hear from people, they're so worried that if they allow those emotions and they allow all those feelings, they'll get stuck there and they won't be able to get out of that deep sadness or the despair or the frustration, the anger, whatever it is. But the reality, of course, is the opposite. It's only by feeling it, it's only by facing it and allowing it, that we can release it and, transform it into something other than heaviness. Because it's true, our backpacks are all really heavy right now. We're so good at stuffing emotions and we're so good at trying to intellectualize and think our way through things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for emotional stuff and feeling stuff. So our backpacks are all really heavy because we've been stuffing for a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna eventually break off and gets it gets messy when it finally pops.
Yes, it does. And that's exactly right. And grief is patient. It will wait for you.
Yes.
Right. If you're not prepared to deal with it, it will come back another way. If you have another loss, you get all the ones you haven't dealt with before back. They all come, right?
Yes.
It's very patient and it will just wait for you. And inevitably, as you say, it will erupt somehow. It will, untended and supported will just erupt into something.
And
way uglier.
Just where you, like you saying, when another grief comes, and this is another thing that's, talking of grief, that there are a lot of times, of course, when we talk of grief, we're talking of somebody losing somebody. But a lot of the time we are grieving about many other things. Grief
Absolutely.
of loss of job, grief of not, satisfied where you are, like plans of, grief of just breaking off in a relationship.
Yeah.
So we manifest in different ways. Like if you are not dealing, like example now, you lost somebody and then you now lost a job, that will be another grief. If it will be like you will not be able to, you will not handle stuff well, because things are just gonna, if you're not handling, it just keeps piling up. And that's the thing people need to understand, that a lot of the times, we're grieving about many things, we're holding on stuff. And because this is one thing, when I'm working with my clients, I have to go through very deep with them, like we have to have a way we rate numbers. Is it your financial relationship, the childhood, everything I have to know about them. And when we start digging through this, because of course, most of the things, of course, they are coming is for the physical health. But now we are finding out, of course, that all these things are linking. We had something we had from childhood, we never grieved. Maybe there was some trauma we went through, we didn't do it. We just keep, like you said, that backpack just keeps heavy, 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 and you go through that in your years. And we just have to give that time to, just let it out.
And I think what's so interesting to me is all those other griefs that you're talking about, and there's so many of them, right? Every change has a loss attached to it. So even if it's a change for good, you're still losing something. So, and that needs to be acknowledged. And it's not going to be, the loss of a child, this is the rest of my lifetime grief. All griefs are not going to be that. Many of them you can just acknowledge and go, oh, interesting. I'm having a lot of feelings about that. What are they? What can I do? What do I do next? Right. And then they're done and you move on. And to me, the beauty of those griefs is it's a place for us to practice supporting each other and supporting ourselves, because we try and show up for people who are grieving the loss of loved ones, right? That's one of the few places that we at least a little bit talk about grief. We don't do it very well and we don't do it enough, but we do it a little bit. But we try to jump into those big losses and those big griefs without any practice or any skills or any knowledge or confidence. And we're just so entangled in our fear and our worry that we're going to make it worse and all those things. If we practiced on the other kinds of losses, when we're talking about the loss of a job, we're so quick to go to problem solving mode, right? Well, we'll say to someone who lost their job, oh, well, that job wasn't really for you anyway. You'll get another one. There's something better around the corner. Like all of those things that we think are positive, and they are in a way, but they negate and kind of dismiss all of the emotions and feelings that are coming up because you've lost your job. And even if you hated that job, it's still a loss of security. It's a loss of all kinds of financial stuff. It's all kinds of things, right? It's a big deal. So if we practice with those kind of losses, we could practice different language. But if we practice saying something like, oh my gosh, like what if it was a surprise? Like, it's so shocking that you lost your job. Maybe they didn't like it. I know you didn't really like it there, but there's so much security attached to it and so much, it's a normal part of your life and it's your social circle and all those things. You must be really feeling some emotions about that.
Yes.
What if that was our response instead of, our kind of cheerleader mode that we go to, like, rah, rah, it'll be fine, you can do it, all that stuff. Because then when you're dealing with someone like me, who was a grieving mom, grieving out loud, I'm not quite as terrifying, right? Because you've practiced, you've said the words, you've said different things and kind of found your own way of acknowledging and, creating space for people to just feel stuff and witness it for them. But we kind of bypass all of those opportunities. We have to build connection, right?
Yes.
Which is the other thing that comes out of grief. It's this beautiful opportunity to build connection. Because if we can show up for each other in those darkest days, in the messy, mucky yuck of it all, those are connections that just have so much beauty to them and so much power. The people for me, the very few of them that were able to do that, those are people that I will count on for the rest of my life. And I believe that they feel the same way about me. They know they can come and say anything because we have said everything to each other, right?
Yes.
So it's really interesting to me that as a collective, we're kind of missing this opportunity to build connection, to build skills that we really desperately need and want. And so that's, always something that I encourage people to do. Like, think about how could you say something different when someone has a loss? And just acknowledge that it's a loss. It's okay to say, wow, that's terrible. That's okay. They know, I hear all the time people, they don't want to remind the person that, they'll say, oh, I don't want to remind them that their son died, for example. I'm like, you are not reminding me. I know every moment of every day that happened. And so you're not reminding me. The contrary is true, right?
Yes.
Me knowing that you also remember is comforting. So it's that sense of like, how do we navigate all of that? And we need to practice. These are skills we can learn. It's not stuff we're supposed to know. We don't know it. So we have to learn it again, even if we knew it at some point historically, ancestrally as babies. I don't know, but we don't know it now. So we need to work together to learn these skills.
Yes. Because, the people, like, maybe somebody that have experienced it before, like you know how to talk, but a lot of people have never experienced such a thing to even know the right thing to say. And,
that's an okay thing to say.
Yeah.
What if we started there instead of pretending that we know what to say or just backing away because we don't? What if we said, gosh, I don't know what to say. I have no experience like yours, and I care about you, and I'm here. And
exactly.
Can I do your grocery shopping?
Right? Yes.
Whatever it is.
Oh my goodness, that's right. You said it. I know I did some training about that, which was kind of like for grief. It was on postpartum. I did some training of how to talk to women. They lost their babies, miscarriage, or even just lost their baby. Things you should say, things you should not say. All that. And I think it's all those part of training of grief too,
Yes.
And, like there was one say to tell the person that, oh, don't worry, you'll still have another baby again. Like, it's, you're still young.
No, no. Don't say it.
Yes, it's God's doing. God knows the best. It's like, no, not that time. Not that time. No. You mean well, but so it was, I know I did all those words and the training and all that. So a lot of us.
Yeah, I love doing in some of my workshops, we'll do a brainstorm. And come up with like all of those things that we've heard said that we know instinctively that they're terrible. And then like, can we rip them up? Can we have a ceremonial burning? Like we need to do something to just release all of those and start fresh, because all of those are not working.
Because, you probably had a lot of people say that all the time and think that is the best thing, is the normal thing to say. And you think it's supposed to bring relief, but
Yeah, but it doesn't. At
Yeah.
best, most of those things are neutral, but some of them are really actively harmful. Like they
Yeah,
actually,
it makes
I
more
could
worse.
feel them like a stab to the heart. And, I
Yes.
really got to the place where I had to just listen like to the person's intention. Like I had to
Yes.
stop listening to the words because so many
Words.
times the words
Just
were
go
so
for the,
problematic.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
okay, I just need to hear that they care about me, and I'm just
Mhm.
not going to listen to the way they articulate that because the words are not going to be right.
Yes, just look at
But
the
that's
intention.
really hard to do when you're in the
Yeah,
throes
oh
of deep
yes.
grief. That's a lot to ask of
Mm.
people.
So yeah, it's we it's part of life. Every day we get better, and we're
Mhm.
learning stuff, and we have
That's
to
right.
kind of, it's a good place to be, to know all these things, and look for those opportunities to learn. Somebody like Susan.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Oh wow. So what would you say you're most proud as a woman today?
What am I most proud of? I am most proud of just the amount I've learned about having a really great relationship with myself.
Mhm.
Because to me, that's the foundation of it all. If
Yes.
I don't have a solid relationship with myself, I have no ground to stand on to
Mm.
try and have a relationship with other people. And I think, especially as women, we're so raised to be overgivers, to people pleasers, all of those kinds of things. And I just really, it's been a long road and journey to get there and to just be really focused on continuing to just put myself first. Like for women to have ourselves even on the list is huge. And then to try and move, it's been a journey to kind of slowly move myself up the list. Like I actually need to be first on the priority list. And
Yes.
especially I think as mothers, like we are used to being like, we are not even on the list.
Oh
There's so
yeah.
much other stuff to do. So it's really that sense of like, how do I take good care of myself so that I have it in me to give to others? So that I
Mm.
have it in me to make an impact. So I have it in me
Yes.
to teach and to share my journey. And that really, that foundation is that self-compassion piece that we touched on earlier, like that
Mm.
sense of, I'm really, really great. And I have tons to learn and I have tons to still figure out. And I'm enough and
Yes.
lovable and worthy. And that's huge.
Yes. Oh, no, that is so big one. Yeah, we have to, because if you have the empty cup, like what are you going to give out? We
Yeah.
got to fill our own cups. Have
Yeah.
your full cups, then you can share. But what can you share
That's
when
right.
it's an empty cup? What are you going to give?
Yeah. If our tank is empty, there's nothing.
What
Like
are you
there's
giving?
nothing.
You just
Yeah.
drying up yourself more.
Yeah. And then we're
Yeah.
giving out of obligation or out
Yes.
of expectation. Like, and none of that is genuine. None of that is
No.
particularly
We
healthy, but
just,
we spend a lot of time doing it. Oh my gosh, I spent a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. And now I'm
yeah.
like, nope,
And
my
then later
first
you become
obligation is to
resentful.
myself.
Yeah, you become
Yes,
resentful.
it's so easy to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resentful to the people that love you most, and you're like, what is
Yes,
going
and
on
never
here?
asked you to do what you're doing either for the most part. None of them asked you to do what you're doing, right? But
Yeah.
we got hurt. We got fed that story at some point, or that's what we see playing out in
Hmm.
the media. We watched a movie the other night and it was so funny. It's one that had not aged well. I won't out it because it doesn't matter. But the female lead was so useless. We were so mad at her the whole movie, and I finally said partway, like, okay, this person, they did not write this movie. This is the writer's fault. It's also very of an era where she was just like this damsel in distress. The whole entire movie had no agency, it was ridiculous. But we get fed those stories, and so we think that's what we're supposed to do,
Mm.
and then we set up our shared agreements in our relationships from that foundation, and then we're in a mess, right? Because we
Yes.
realize, oh, that is not healthy or sustainable or good for anybody. And then we have to
Yeah.
renegotiate everything. So if we could learn that early, if there's anything I could have learned earlier in life, it would be that, like, me first, and then you, and that'll be brilliant.
And that's
And
not
we're going to be
selfish.
honest with each other, right? And it's not selfish. It's selfish in the best way possible. I've come to
Yes.
realize that being selfish is actually really healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I see no negative connotation.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of myself first because only then can I take care of anybody else.
Yes. That's right. That is great. Take care of yourself first. Self-care.
Yeah. And it's hard. I'm not here to tell you it's easy. It's hard because you are
It's
fighting
hard.
societal
Yeah.
expectations. You're fighting your
Especially
conditioning. You're fighting all kinds of stuff, but you can do it.
as a woman, as a mother,
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of, I mean, you've talked a lot of encouraging things, but I want us to just kind of wrap it, put a little package here. What are some of the encouraging words you want to give this person listening today before we round up here?
The most important thing I think that I want people to hear is that we're making so many of our choices right now and so many of our decisions from a fear place. And if we can let go of that fear, even though I know that's hard, and choose love instead, that would transform everything. So if you're going to do one thing when you're making a choice, it's to look at it and think, wow, am I doing that because I'm scared of what people will think, what people will say, what people expect of me? There's a million things, a million fears we carry. Or am I doing it because I'm genuinely doing it out of love? And if we can approach grief that way, if we can let go of the fear of it and face it with love for ourselves, for each other, that's where the magic is.
Powerful. That's right. You have to evaluate because there are many choices we make every day. And this is a good way to kind of say, why am I doing this?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to wear yourself out because you want to prove to somebody.
Yeah.
That is, you're going the wrong direction because you're going to burn out fast.
Yeah. And burnout and exhaustion and stress are just, epic proportions right now. And we need to shift that.
Yes.
We have to, because it's not sustainable. We're seeing that now, right? This is not sustainable.
It's not. It's too many of us going through that, and we're gonna crash. Ooh.
Yep. So it's okay. I will invite you to grieve what you used to do.
Yeah.
And now, right, as we know better, we do better. So it's okay to go, wow, I would never make that choice now. But I did the best I knew how. And now I'm going to do something different.
Yes, that's right. We can always, as long as we're breathing here, we talking,
right.
we can always make a change. It's a new day. Every day you wake up, you can make a change. It's an opportunity to make that change. I think there's a
baby steps to success.
Yes, there's a quote like that actually said, if I able to wake up, I'm glad because it's another opportunity to change or something like that. I think there's a quote like that. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful.
So how do people connect with you? Do you have any social media pages or website, or how was the best?
I do. Yes, of course I do. The best place to find me is on my website, which is alivedexperience.com. There's two important things you could do there. You can sign up for the newsletter. So then you're getting from me suggestions and ideas, all of the newest things I'm learning. It comes out on Fridays. And you can, if any of this has resonated with you, or you're part of an organization that's facing grief and you need a speaker or a trainer, or you want to look at my programming, you can book a time there with me. So that's two great things you can do there. And then, yes, explore. The blog posts are all there. There's some free resources there, and all the links to social media are all on the website.
Okay, that's awesome. Just have all in one link there, right?
It's all there. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, that is great. So I'm going to be sharing this in the description area. So those of
look
you,
in the show notes.
Yes, right there.
That's right.
So it's going to be on Spotify, on YouTube, Apple, any place you are listening to podcasts. Are you doing any projects right now? Any big projects or small projects?
I'm just actually launching my program for businesses and organizations, which is really exciting. So I've created a program to work on your emotional intelligence, up your compassion level so that we can have these awkward, difficult conversations, and then really practical suggestions and ideas for creating scaffolding at work for folks that are dealing with grief. So that works for organizations, it works for soul practitioners that want to, there's a lot of people in particular industries that I think deal with grievers more regularly and really need the skills to be able to be, at the forefront of their field. And we know there's a huge cost to unsupported grief, and it costs in productivity, it costs in employee retention, all those things that we want to that we want to build on as a successful business. So that's really a way to help people connect with your organization and shift that company culture a little bit.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of, especially with some of the healthcare companies.
Yeah, I'm finding a real need in all those social service kind of industries, right? Where grief is kind of a part of your business.
Yes.
Because of your client group or because of the services you provide, there's grief all around, and we don't know what to do about it. So I'm here to help.
That is great. Yes, we need more people like you in this area, because I think it's somewhere sometimes people don't look into, and this is awesome. Well,
thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming in today. And so this comes to the end of the Gaby U show today, and I'm gonna end it with one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou. She says, "When you know better, you do better." All right, people, that's it. See you next time. Bye-bye.